Good morning, everyone. Let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. All right, I give that about a 5 out of 10. Let's try it one more time. Third time's the charm. Good morning, everyone. All right, that's what I like to hear. Who's happy it's the weekend? All right, I see some hands. I'll put mine up too. Good. Who's happy there's snakes here today? Oh, yeah. Who's scared that there's snakes here today? Yeah, yep. All right, me too, me too. A little bit scared. Now, I grew up with snakes, so, I've got bit by them a couple times before, but these ones are very friendly, so I'm told. But you'll be hearing more about that. I would like to welcome everybody to the Garden Club today. I am here with Jill Zaraletta, our Membership and Marketing Manager. My name is Daniel Stark. I'm the Operations Manager here at the Garden Club. I would like to thank the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund for supporting our, you gotta hit the right arrow so it goes to the next. Yep, today's Friendly Snakes. And the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund is a foundation that is kind enough to support our programming. We're very grateful for their support in making these programs possible. And before we start, I want to tell you about our upcoming Budding Gardeners programs to make sure that everyone has these on the calendar. Well, actually, I'll introduce Maureen and Jean first. Maureen, where's Maureen? Maureen is right here. She is one of the chairs of the Budding Gardeners, and she will also be one of the leaders of the stations today. We've got a planting station, we've got an art station, and we've got a snake station. So after Alisa does the presentation, we'll break into groups and everyone will get a chance to do some hands-on activities. So that's really great. Upcoming events, we've got Busy Bees coming up, all about bees on August 13th. So mark your calendars for August 13th. Get your tickets early because it might sell out, because I know bees are super popular and very important for the environment. Also coming up, we've got the Gnome Tea Party. What are gnomes and what kind of tea do they like? Find out all about it. The date for that is September 17th. These are all Saturday events. They're all at 10 a.m. And that one, Gnome Tea Party, is on September 17th. Garden Club membership. Who here is already a Garden Club member? Raise your hand. Yep. All right, good. I see some hands in the air. If you're not a Garden Club member, please join. It's $30 a year. You can save money on coming to Budding Gardeners, on Fun with Flowers, on other popular events. When you go to your favorite garden store, you can get 15% off with your Garden Club membership. So there's a lot of great things. And you get to support a wonderful organization like us. Isn't that great? So you can ask Jill if you've got any more questions about membership. Oh, thank you, Maureen. Yeah, but please, consider joining our membership. Without any further ado, I want to introduce our speaker for today. We are very fortunate to have her with us today. Along with her helper, Angelo, is Alisa Cantu from the Marsh. So please give her a warm Garden Club welcome.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Alisa. I'm one of the naturalists at the Mosh. I don't know if you guys know much about what a naturalist does, but it basically studies everything that's on the earth, including plants, animals, reptiles. I don't know if you guys have been to the Mosh lately, but I work in the FNC, so I take care of the courtyard, everything that's planted out there. We bring the tortoises out so they can eat everything. I'm not exactly a plant person, but I've been learning slowly. I'll just give you guys some facts. Does anybody know what a reptile is? Hands raised. In the blue? That's right. So not technically, some don't lay eggs, but cold-blooded, definitely. So meaning that they're exothermic. So like when you go to the park, you see those sliders and they're out there basking with their feet out in the air. So pretty much they're getting exothermic, which means they get all their heat from the outside world. So unlike us, we're mammals, so we can regulate our body temperature. So everybody that I brought here is obviously going to be cold-blooded because they're going to be reptiles. So I will show our newest guy. We will not be able to touch him. He's a little grouchy sometimes. He has some nipping issues, but he is a water banded snake. So he is just a baby. He's only a few years old. So when they get big, they're going to be those thick body. So they look exactly, pretty much they mimic cottonmouths. So the water moccasins. So things we do not want to touch in the wild eventually. And a good general rule is we just don't want to touch any snakes because we really don't know if it's going to be venomous. Does anybody know the difference between venom and poison? Yes, ma'am. Exactly. So venom is going to be something that's going to inject you. Like if you get bit by a snake, you get bit by a bee or a spider, and then poison is something you're going to eat or something that's going to like rub on your skin, like poison ivy, things like that. So everybody that I brought, none of them are venomous. We don't have any venomous species. But as we do live in the lovely state of Florida, we have 6 different species of venomous snakes, and we have 44 native species of snakes that are found in Florida, as well as some invasive species. Unfortunately, people just like to release things. But this guy's really cool. So he's just a baby. So you're going to see him when he brings him to the table. So they're going to spend 95, 98% of the time in the water because they're going to be the aquatic snakes. And when they get bigger, they're going to look pretty much exactly like a cottonmouth. Does anybody have any? His name is Archie. Does anybody have any questions about this guy? Yes, sir.
And the question is, what is the difference between that snake and a cottonmouth?
So the cool thing is, and it's kind of a general rule. I mean, you should always just not to, but they're going to have that big diamondback head. So they're going to have those slanted pupils and they're going to have that thick head. So when this guy from the back, if you're going to see him, they're going to look exactly the same. They're going to have the same markings, the same thick body, but when you look at the head, they're going to be different. Yeah, it's more of like a triangle head because they have those venom sacs that are like on the side. So that's what gives them that triangle head. But not all venomous snakes have triangle heads, like the coral snake, for instance. So it's just a general rule not to touch anything. I think my son forgot that when he was 3 because he used to just catch stuff. And look at him now. And now he helps me. Does anybody else have any questions about him? When he comes closer, you guys will be able to see him, but he just has a nipping problem, so we don't let anybody touch him. But this guy, on the other hand, is super friendly and really good education snake. So his name is Arthur. He is a king snake. So king snakes are super good for the environment. So if you have one of these in your garden, they're really important. So snakes overall are just great to have in your garden because they're going to keep your rodent population down. They're going to keep, we all know how we don't want another COVID. That's how bubonic plague started way back again because we had too many rodents. And king snakes in particular do kill the venomous snakes. So if you're going to have him in your yard, you're not going to have any venomous snakes, which is really good. You know, you have pets, you have children, you really don't want those guys out there. I do have, it's something to do with their blood factor that when they kill, when they strike at the venomous snakes, that the venom doesn't affect them like it would other mammals. Did you have a question? A racer? Yeah. So I bet you don't have that many rodents, which is really good.
He's got a black snake that lives in his yard.
I appreciate that. And you just let him live his life, right? He's just living his best life over there. Yeah, it happens.
Thank you, Asa. And it looks like Brody's got a question over here as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, they do eat snakes, and they're really good for your tick population, but they cannot eat venomous snakes.
Possums do eat snakes was the question, but they don't eat venomous snakes. Very good question.
Because the venom does affect them, because remember, she's a mammal, so it's going to only a few, and all there's 11 or 12 different species of king snake. He happens to be an eastern king snake. So all of those will go after venomous snakes as their prey. And then, so pretty good thing about reptiles. So whatever coloration they're going to be, like this guy's kind of like a foresty, like woody color. He's got the yellow markings, the brown. That's going to be the area that they're found in. So he's finding like the pine woods area, the bottom. And then there's the other king snake that has like the red black that looks that mimics the coral snake, but it's not a coral snake. So the cool thing about snakes in general, so you can see that he's constantly sticking that forked tongue. So snakes don't have really good eyesight. They just see us as heat signatures, red, oranges, blue if we're cold. You got mine? Hold on.
And
so so they're constantly sticking that forked tongue out. They're constantly figuring out and smelling. And then they're going to have rows of pits along their mouth. So when you see him closer and you're touching him, you're going to see that he's going to have those pits around his mouth, and that's how they're smelling, and that's how they're going to find their prey. Yes, ma'am.
What happens if you step on them when you don't see them?
Well, unfortunately, just like when you step on your cat, it tries to bite you. That sometimes happens, and that's unfortunately how some people get bit when they're out. And that's why a good thing, if you're hiking, you should be really loud, shuffle your feet, because they're going to move. Just like when you go in the water and they say shuffle your feet so you don't step on a stingray, same concept, but you're going to try to be extra loud because they're going to feel that vibration. So they're not going to really see you first if they're hiding amongst the leaves, but they're going to feel the vibration of you coming, and they're going to make a sound. And as you know, so snakes are going to have scales. So they're going to have the different belly scales here, which are going to be the thicker ones, and then they're going to have these top scales, and they're going to shed about 3 or 4 times a year. And reptiles, snakes in general, are indiscriminate growers, which means that even though they make their 5 or 6 feet, like he's about 5.5 feet, so that's like his pretty much max length. He's not going to grow much bigger, but he is going to grow like 1/10 of a centimeter, 1/8. It's going to be so small that unless you're measuring, maybe you're not really going to know. Same thing with like tortoise and turtles. Their scutes are going to get a little wider. I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook, we just took Tonk out of the water, our snappy turtle, and measured him. So he grew like a 16th. He does need to go on a diet if you saw him. He's a little chunky. Do you guys have any questions about this guy? Yes, ma'am. About 3 or 4 times a year. He just shed. So he's looking very nice and shiny. And then they're going to get that really nice shiny color. So when they're shed, their eyes are going to get opaque. So they're going to get an eye cap over them. So they can't really see that well. Carlo, you'll see it looks like he has an eye cap, but he's just older. So he has cataracts. And then they're going to get a really dull color. And the humidity is what keeps them going. So in theory, they should shed in one piece as long as the humidity is really high. Yes, sir. Probably.
Do you think
This
a
is
king
Florida.
snake might be in the trees, in the pine
Yes.
trees?
I would say yes, because everywhere we go, it's Florida, and there's lots of reptiles and lots of snakes, and probably other things that you don't want to see, like pygmy rattlesnakes and things like that, especially if it's like all woods and there's not that much going on. Yes, sir. Sherry.
He's seen a snake climbing up a pine tree. That's amazing. And I think we have time for one more question from the row behind Asa, and then we're gonna move to we're gonna save the rest of our questions for the end. Yes, sir. What's your question? When they shed, do they get bigger? Was that right?
Yes. So they're going to get a little bigger. It's not going to be a lot. And like I said, so once they hit their max, so he's about 5 feet. So that's pretty much the max, like the full max length he's going to get, but it's just going to be so small, like a 16th of a centimeter, that we're really not going to know until we do our yearly measurements.
I think we're gonna save the rest of our questions for the end of our presentation.
Okay. You ready? So Angela's going to take out. So this is one of our bigger guys. He's already ready to come out. Hello, Carlisle. So he is an eastern indigo snake. And I don't know if I mentioned this before. So everybody that I brought and everybody that is in the Florida Snatch Center at the Maj is native to Florida. And everybody that we do have over there at one point in their life was injured or rehabilitated. So we have a lot of rehabilitated and non-releasable animals. So they just come and live their best life over there with us. So Carlisle is really cool. Angel, move the bench so people can see, please. That way. He likes his tire, as you can see. Yeah, you can pick him up and let people see how big he is. So he is going to be one of the larger snakes that are found in Florida. And he is another one. They're not like king snakes that'll choose constantly to eat venomous snakes, but this is another species that can and will, if that's the last thing that they can get. But they're going to obviously choose small mammals, rodents, fish, they're close to the water, things like that. And obviously he looks really big, and he looks like he kind of has like a diamond head, but not really. So if you look closely, they're going to have that round head. He's going to have that big forked tongue, and he's constantly smelling of the air. Have anything to add? Yeah, he's the largest. And then the cool thing about them, so they're going to have that, like he was saying, is that they're going to have that iridescent color. So when you see them in the light, they kind of have like that shiny purplish color. It's a little hard, but when you out see them, and that's how they're going to see them in the wild. So it looks very reflective.
So the eastern diamondback is the only snake that can hurt that snake?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So they're called our apex predators, which means that they're the top of the food chain in Florida. And obviously, if you look at his size, you can obviously tell he's going to be at the top of the food chain. No, he's a striker. So he's a striker, so he's not a constrictor, so he's going to strike at it. Strike to kill first.
And Alisa, if you don't mind, move that microphone up just a
yeah.
little bit to make sure all our
He
guests
keeps
can hear you.
trying to go in my hair. Yeah, so he's going to be a striker. So he's not going to be a constrictor where he grabs it and constricts it and sucks the life out of it, like our Burmese pythons, reticulate pythons, Arthur here. So he's going to strike it, and that's how he's going to think he's going to kill it. I mean, he thinks he kills everything, even though it's frozen. He thinks he's living in the wild, I think.
Yeah, so Angela is telling us that Burmese pythons are the ones that constrict. They're invasive, and we really don't want them in Florida.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. So it was a hurricane in the 80s that helped to kind of get a lot of those out in the wild.
Yeah. So that's how it started, the whole Burmese python. No, so these guys are not venomous, but my rule, I always say, and I tell all children this, anything with a mouth is going to bite you, has the capability to bite you. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to bite you, but that's why I've been working with animals for 15 years. I have a healthy fear of everything that could bite me.
Yes, sir. Your question? I did not know that. That's a great question. A reticulated python is 33 feet. So that'll go up to the ceiling and keep going. That is huge.
Yeah, in Indonesia. I think that's the largest record, but they usually average like 18 to 20 feet. And they're the thick-bodied snakes, so they're going to be your constrictors as well. So I don't think those are invasive here. Let's hope not. Unless somebody decided to another hurricane came and some crazy person has a bunch of snakes, which is quite possible. It is Florida, guys.
Most of the invasive species are down south in the Everglades. Yeah.
Like iguanas, lizards, frogs, human tree frogs. Do you guys have any questions about our friend over here, Carlisle? Oh, in the blue. Yes, sir.
Can you repeat the question? It's got 2 black racers in the lanai.
You're going to put them in.
And one was looking out. 2 black racers.
Well, I'm sure you do not have any rodents in your area, which is good. I'm not against rodents, but I think they're, keep the population down.
And we've got a question over here. Go ahead. Why do the snakes keep trying to get into your hair, Alisa?
Because that's the warmest part of our body. So my arms are really cold, so he's going to like to kind of snuggle over here. And as a general, Angelo is a little braver than I am. I don't like them by my face. But that's just me. That's just. So this is my son. So I dragged him to help me out this morning. I said, you get a hold of the big guy. Yes. And it was funny because my husband said, well, now we'll really find out if Angela really likes snakes as much as he says he does.
Any other questions before we move? Yes, we've got 2 questions, and then we're going to move to our breakout groups. Brody, go ahead. And you're next. Yes, how come this one likes to coil and this one likes to stretch? That's a great question.
Okay, so first of all, this is a king snake, definitely not a king cobra. You guys would have to rush me to the hospital. This guy's a constrictor, so he just is more comfortable. It's really not it's more of a preference, just like some cats like to be touched a certain way. And he's a really good education snake, and everybody makes a joke of him and call him googly eyes. But if you see him, he likes to snuggle people's arms and just kind of like do that. It's really odd. I've never had a snake do this before, and he's got a lot of personality, and that's why he's really good for education purposes. But he likes to cuddle your arms. I don't know why. He just likes to do that. He's been doing it for years.
And Kevin, what was your question? Kevin saw 2 water moccasins. Raise your hand if you know what a water moccasin is. It is not a shoe that goes on your foot, is it? That sure is scary. And what did you do when you saw those?
Bless you.
Yeah, so one was at Disney World and one was at your house. Yeah, that is really amazing.
When we do pet them and we break out into groups, so we do have a few rules when we're petting them. Obviously, we're not going to touch them in the face. Like I said, everything with a mouth can bite. These guys will not bite you, but it's just a general rule. Nobody likes to be poked in the face and nobody likes to be poked in the butt, right? So we're not going to touch their tail and we're not going to touch their face. And then when we're touching them, we're just going to go like this, no squeezing down the body. Because when we go up like this, sometimes their scales are kind of up. So it's basically like petting a cat backwards. So we just kind of go down with the body like that. And then this guy, we're not going to touch, but you're welcome to look at him and look closer because like I said, he does bite.
All right, so no touching the heads, no touching the scale, no touching the tails or the butt, as she said. And we're going to pet downwards, just like a cat, not up. You pet downwards on the snake. So does that just about conclude our presentation,
yes,
Alisa?
Do you have one more question or a story? Question or story? Yeah. If you like my cats will bite you. Does anybody have any snakes at their house? Does anybody have any snake pets? Oh, okay. You probably have a bunch of snakes over there. That is a great thing because how old are you? This one here, he's 18 now, about to go to college. But when he was 3 and 4, I'd be out there doing laundry and he would come and put multiple snakes in my face. So I said, you know what? I said, it's time to join the herpetology side because you're going to bring home something that's not. So he started around between 5 and 8. We joined the herpetology side, learned a bunch of snakes before I got my degree. So that way he would know what to touch and not to touch because he didn't listen to me, and look at him now. Yes, sir. Yeah, it's too cold up here.
Good question.
Yeah, it's too cold up here. So, and they just haven't made this far, and then usually there have been a few sightings down like corner of Daytona Beach, St. Augustine area, but the FWC has really been able to keep them only in the Everglades. They kind of just took over the Everglades. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so sad. They've wiped out like birds, frogs, lizards, all because some person decided to have a bunch of snakes. And then obviously by Miami Zoo. That was unfortunate to let them go. Yes, ma'am.
So she's put out oil, she's put out mothballs, and she wants to know, is her water safe from water moccasins?
I mean, that's what they tell me. And also they say lavender and garlic and onions. That's what they say. I have never tried the theory, but that's what everybody tells me. Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody tells me. That's what everybody says. That's what Mimi used to put out because there was water moccasins back there in the marshy land behind.
All right, so if everybody could give me a big round of applause for Alisa and the moth. One more round of applause for Angelo with the big snake around his neck. Very brave. Thank you, Angelo.